The Reapers can wipe out the Council and the entire Citadel fleet in a single surprise attack.
That was our fate. Our leaders were dead before we even realized we were under attack. The Reapers seized control of the Citadel, and through it, the mass relays. Communication and transportation across our empire were crippled. Each star system was isolated, cut off from the others. Easy prey for the Reaper fleets. Over the next decades, the Reapers systematically obliterated our people. World by world, system by system, they methodically wiped us out.
The war was lost. If you'd surrendered, they might have let you live.
No offer of surrender was ever given. Our enemy had a single goal: the extinction of all advanced organic life. Through the Citadel, the Reapers had access to all our records, maps, census data. Information is power, and they knew everything about us.
They had access to the Facebook network.
Across every settled region of the galaxy. Some worlds were utterly destroyed. Others were conquered, their populations enslaved. These indoctrinated servants became sleeper agents under Reaper control. Taken in as refugees by other Protheans, they betrayed them to the machines. Within a few centuries, the Reapers had killed or enslaved every Prothean in the galaxy. They were relentless, brutal, and absolutely thorough.
This is really interesting. They focus so much on the Reapers being machines. And like the game mentions it time and again, and it's just the game never gives us evidence that the Reapers are indeed machines. Because like obviously they are machines, because the game is telling us that, but the game isn't doing a very good job of telling that they are machines. Because what it's doing is, people say that they are machines, but the game doesn't actually show us their machinedom, as it were. Because if you've ever watched, I was thinking of a specific example of the Daleks in Doctor Who. The Daleks in Doctor Who are basically these little weird robots that are weird. They look like cones. They're weird. They're old school robots. You know how it goes. They have wheels and they have a cannon and whatnot. And they look like machines, but they're not machines. Those are their vehicles. And it's very obvious to it's very obvious to us to think of people, like somebody shows up in their car, you're not going to think, oh, look at that, he's a car now. No, they're inside the car. You know how the car works. And especially in space, when like there's spaceships, and we've seen all we've seen is a hologram. Like it's like all for all we know, the Saren, that's just Saren's avatar. Maybe it's like on Twitter, they have their Twitter profile. It's like they have the profile picture. It's basically that, except it's a hologram instead of a picture. But the point is, we don't know that they're machines. We don't know that they ever were other things than an AI for sure, but they, as far as we know, they're just... And especially because the thing is, Saren has a line that says that we cannot comprehend their existence. And for us to just, oh, they're just machines. It's literally like treating the Daleks in Doctor Who as machines. They're not machines. That's their tank. They have tanks, and they live inside the tanks. And I don't know, though, if it's like a retconning thing. If they were... Because it might be a twist. I don't know. It might be a twist in Doctor Who. Because I remember an episode where you see inside of a Dalek, and you see the Dalek... and even me saying inside of a Dalek, because we treat them as the whole machine, but there's like a little alien inside. They're fused with their machine in a way, though, if I remember correctly, but the point is, it's more complicated than that. Either way, I ramble about all the things, as you well know. And also, I didn't mean for my character to be like, oh, why didn't you surrender? No, it's not why didn't you surrender, is I was asking if they had tried to surrender, because obviously if they had, it wouldn't have worked, which means that there's no reason to believe that it will work this time around, because that's Saren's whole deal, or Saren's whole deal, as Tally says. Let's go with this one.
What do the Reapers get out of this? Why do they keep repeating this pattern of genocide over and over?
The Reapers are alien, unknowable. Perhaps they need slaves or resources. More likely they are driven by motives and goals organic beings cannot hope to comprehend. In the end, what does it matter? Your survival depends on stopping them. Not in understanding them.
It's also very... Like, the game never goes... The whole setting doesn't go into a very deep thought process of how things happen and why things happen. Before they were talking about... the Prothean here was saying, oh, the advanced civilizations, and I'm like, well, that's mighty fine of you to consider yourself an advanced civilization. And the reason I talked about it before is just that, you know, there's a hierarchy that is inherent to the setting, to say that civilizations that expand across all galaxies are inherently more advanced than civilizations who don't. And not only is there plenty of science fiction that challenges that idea, and when I say plenty of science fiction, obviously there's plenty of science fiction that challenges that idea directly. What I'm saying is there's plenty of science fiction that doesn't really care about those themes, like, for example, Warcraft 40k, in the sense that, you know, comparing the orcs to the what are the Protoss from Warhammer? It's not Protoss, but they have the Eldar, I think. Comparing the orcs from Warhammer to the Eldar from Warhammer, and you see that, you know, they have very different levels of technology, they have very different levels of culture, and when I say levels here, I mean from a hierarchical perspective, and just actually, you know, from what the game is here trying to make them hierarchical, because obviously technology and culture can only be compared when within the same branch of evolution, and even in culture in particular, even then it can't be. Like, just because something came out of another part of culture doesn't mean that something is better or worse or whatever. What I mean to say is that compare the orcs and the Eldar, and you see very different civilizations, and both of them are spacefaring. Every single civilization in Warhammer 40k is spacefaring, and it doesn't mean that they're all on the same level, or even all of them are. Like, the orcs are worse than humans right now, in real life, is what I'm saying, because they're terrible and murder everybody. But they just mess with their ships and are very angry, and the ships fly because they're so angry. This whole thing, Warhammer 40k is goofy as hell. But the point is, this game takes it at face value that there is a linear, like, it doesn't preclude you from thinking otherwise, obviously, but as far as the writing of the game goes, of Mass Effect goes, there's a linear evolution from lower level civilizations to higher level civilizations, and that evolution entails space exploration and space colonization. It's just a shallow interpretation, but it is the interpretation that it has. However, what the reason why I started talking about this is that, what does it matter? This question over here, why are they doing this, is misguided, especially when it comes to an AI, as far as we understand AI as, you know, humans of 21st century, but also just from a literary perspective and from what the game is actually telling. There's not necessarily a reason for them to do this. For us to understand, any alien civilization, right? Not even an alien civilization, any animal, or even any person, really. For us to understand actions as motivated by an intention, is to imprint our own ways of thinking into other people, into other species, and certainly into other civilizations. And the thing is, there's a lot of things we humans do right now, and certainly in Mass Effect, that there's no reason for us to do them, and the explanation isn't the explanation, or rather the question is not why do we do this, but how did we come to do this, or how did it come to be that we do this, and you know, things like I don't know, the languages that we speak. They're not why do we speak? Why am I speaking English right now? There's reasons for that, but the reason why we as a whole speak English is more of an historical reason rather than necessarily an intentional decision by all of us to speak English. And certainly on an individual level, there's a lot less of a decision. But even as a whole, there's not necessarily a decision. There's an historical precedent that forces us, or not forces, but like explains why we speak English right now when I'm speaking English, obviously. And for the Reapers, it might be this very same thing. They might be doing this obviously on a very different. I realize I'm comparing galactic genocide to speaking English on a YouTube video, but the point is still the same. What I'm saying is the Reapers might not do this on purpose, or rather, they might not do this with a goal in mind, but this is just this is what they do. And the question, instead of being why do they do this, the question could be how did it come for them to do this, or how did it come that they, how did it came to be that they are indeed doing this. And you can write amazing science fiction with that in mind, especially if it's a plot twist, because it's a deeper level, you know what I mean? So instead of assigning the blame to the Reapers in being the Reapers being the villain, and I mean they're obviously the villain, but the point is, instead of you being like, oh, the Reapers are gonna murder us all, this is terrible, you're like, okay, well, the Reapers are gonna murder us all, this is terrible, and also we're screwed because somebody, or not somebody, but something, some reality, because it could be not a person, it could be just the laws of nature or something. Something made it so that the Reapers exist. And that might be a bigger problem. And that's, that could be just something as simple as all AI will inevitably evolve to be like the Reapers. That's a very, what's the word? A very pessimistic take on AI, but certainly a take that sci-fi has been doing for a long time. And since the beginning, really, that you need to control AI. When in reality, it's not at all like that. But whatever. The point is, in fiction, things work as we want them to work when we write fiction. So if Mass Effect wants to tell a story of the Reapers not being the real villains, but rather AI just being inevitably a conduit toward making galaxy-killing monsters, basically, that just want to. I don't know, maybe they could be doing this for eugenics purposes, for technological development purposes. Maybe it's just they take it as a game, whatever. It doesn't really matter if they have a purpose or not, but they could have evolved to have that purpose, and that could be a story, a little bit more personal than just the Reapers being mean and smelling bad.
I don't understand. Where did the Reapers go after they conquered your people?
Our worlds were stripped bare, harvested by the indoctrinated slaves. Everything of value, all resources, all technology was taken. Certain that all advanced organic life had been extinguished, the Reapers retreated back through the Citadel relay into dark space, sealing it behind them. All evidence of the Reaper invasion had been wiped away. Only their indoctrinated slaves were left behind, abandoned. Mindless husks, no longer capable of independent thought, the indoctrinated soon starved or died of exposure. The genocide of the Protheans was complete.
And it's also telling, like, the thing with this particular dialogue that we are having here with Vigil is that we can't, like, it's definitely possible to think of, oh, maybe he doesn't know everything. Maybe he's just lying, or maybe he's confused, whatever. When he says that the Reapers stripped all the planets of all the resources and everything of value. So he could be an unreliable character, but certainly in the context of this game, we can't seriously have that perspective, because this is a revelatory text. This is the canon that the game is throwing at us. And if a later game wants to say that Vigil was confused and didn't say all the right things, and maybe they didn't strip all the planets and all that, sure. But I think what is actually happening in this particular game is that the developers are imprinting their own sense of what is valuable and what is a resource, and unthinkingly and uncritically they're imprinting it into the Protheans, because it doesn't actually make sense. Not it doesn't make sense from the Protheans' perspective or from the Reaper's perspective. What I'm saying is that value is absolutely constructed. It's not absolute. It's what is value? Value is just what we say it's valuable. So for the Protheans, it could be all the peanut. What's the thing that when you eat a peanut, there's like a bit that comes out. I mean, there's the bit that you eat, but like the. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? The thing that is outside of the peanut? That's the thing. That's what's valuable for the Protheans. And maybe it was what was valuable for the sorry, that's what's valuable in my made up hypothesis here. That's what's valuable for the Reapers, and maybe that was what was valuable for the Protheans. And so they came in and stripped the whole planet out of their peanut things, and well, terrible things. And the resources, that was what they did to they burned that to warm up. That's their resource, because everything is a resource. Everything is a value. Everything in a planet, including the planet, including things that are not even there. Like, for example, in the sense that they're metaphysical rather than actual reality. Like, for example, the day-night cycle, for example, is of value. The proximity to a star, the temperature, everything is of value depending on what you are actually looking for. If you're looking for peanut bits, then yeah, peanut bits will be valuable. But if you're looking for gold, then only gold is going to be valuable. Did they take gold or did they take the peanut bits? There's no reason for us to believe that either one of those, unless, of course, we're imprinting our own sense of value as humans, which I believe is what the developers did. It's just I think it was a throwaway line that honestly should have been rewritten. As in, what did the Protheans actually take? He should have said things like, they took all of our computers. He said he took all our technology. Technology obviously is everything, not just... and also technology. We have the results of technology. Technology is just the ways to make things. The chair itself isn't the technology, but the way we do the chair and the capability of making the chair is the technology. And for computers, it's the same thing. The computer itself isn't the technology. It's just the capability of making computers is what the technology is. The point is, language evolves, and people treat the computer as technology, and they don't treat the chair as technology. So did they actually take your computers and laptops and your PDAs and all that? Because obviously this game doesn't have cell phones, it's all PDAs. Was that what happened? Oh, they took my Facebook. Because obviously they mentioned it, the information. So they took all of our information, all of our senses, because, they didn't have Facebook, they only had senses. But yeah, it's an old game. We know how the 2010s completely reshaped how humans see data as valuable. So, value. It still has to do with that.
You said you brought me here for a reason. Tell me what I need to do.
The conduit is the key. Before the Reapers attacked, we Protheans were on the cusp of unlocking the mysteries behind mass relay technology. Ilos was a top-secret facility. Here, researchers worked to create a small-scale version of a mass relay, one that linked directly to the Citadel, the hub of the relay network.
The conduit is not a weapon. It is a backdoor onto the Citadel.
How did you manage to stay hidden?
All official records of our project were destroyed in the initial attack on the Citadel. While the Prothean Empire came crashing down, Ilos was spared. We severed all communication with the outside, and our facility went dark. The personnel retreated underground into these archives. To conserve resources, everyone was put into cryogenic stasis. I was programmed to monitor the facility and wake the staff when the danger had passed. But the genocide of an entire species is a long, slow process. Years passed, decades, centuries. The Reapers persisted, and my energy reserves were dwindling.
To conserve energy, you were put into cryogenic stasis. That doesn't make sense. Cryogenic stasis actually takes an enormous amount of energy. As in, 1,000 times more energy than it takes for you to just stay there alive. Obviously, through cryogenic stasis, you're supposed to remain alive for a lot longer, but if you really wanted to conserve energy, you just kill yourself. That's all I'm saying. It's just, what I'm talking about here. Yeah. I'm not telling the Protheans that they should have killed themselves, although I just said that. What I'm saying is that they didn't do it to conserve energy. They did it to not die. I think that's the implication here, and it's pretty straightforward that they would do that. I'm gonna be mean to them because of course I am.
You should have fought.
We were a few hundred against a galactic invasion fleet. Our only hope was to remain undetected. I began to disable the life support of non-essential personnel. First support staff, then security. One by one, their pods were shut down to conserve energy. Eventually, only the stasis pods of the top scientists remained active. Even these were in danger of failing when the Reapers finally retreated back through the Citadel relay.
There were hundreds of stasis pods out there. You just shut them down? You killed them?
He couldn't let everyone die. Better to sacrifice some so others could live.
This outcome was not completely unforeseen. My actions were a result of contingency programming entered on my creation.
I bet they didn't tell the non-essential staff about this contingency.
I saved key personnel. When the Reapers retreated, the top researchers were still alive. My actions are the only reason any hope remains. When the researchers woke, they realized the Prothean species was doomed. There were only a dozen individuals left, far too few to sustain a viable population. Yet they vowed to find some way to stop the Reapers from returning, a way to break the cycle forever. And they knew the Keepers were the key.
The Keepers themselves, that's interesting. It's what is weird is that they treat the shutting down of some pods as like this big thing. For all we know, they only had so much energy, and they had to survive. The Protheans had to survive for 50,000 years now, inside of their cryopods. It's pretty obvious that unless you have renewable energy, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. And why wouldn't they tell everybody, the non-essentials? I mean, whatever Tally said. Why wouldn't they tell everybody that they would shut down some pods if they didn't have enough energy? That's sort of like yes, please do, because that way some of us survive. You know what I mean? Of course they would tell everybody that. Tally, whatever.
Aren't they under the influence of the Reapers?
The Keepers are controlled by the Citadel. Before each invasion, a signal is sent through the station compelling the Keepers to activate the Citadel relay. After decades of feverish study, the scientists discovered a way to alter this signal. Using the conduit, they gained access to the Citadel and made the modifications. This time, when Sovereign sent the signal to the Citadel, the Keepers ignored it. The Reapers are trapped in dark space.
Saren can use the conduit to bypass all the Citadel's external defenses.
Correct. And once inside, he can transfer control of the station to Sovereign. Sovereign will override the Citadel systems and manually open the relay, and the cycle of extinction will begin again.
I'll take Sovereign down. Somehow.
There's a data file in my console. Take a copy when you go. When you reach the Citadel's master control unit, upload it to the station. It will corrupt the Citadel's security protocols and give you temporary control of the station. It might give you a chance against Sovereign.
Wait, where's the Citadel's master control unit? I've never heard of anything like that.
Through the conduit, follow Saren. He will lead you to your destination.
If the Reapers are trapped in dark space, how did Sovereign get here?
It is logical to assume the Reapers would leave one of their own behind after each extinction. A sentinel to pave the way for their inevitable return. Like those in dark space, Sovereign probably spent most of the last 50,000 years in a state of hibernation. Periodically, it would wake to analyze the situation. Keeping its existence hidden, it would evaluate the state of galactic civilization. And when the time was right, it would signal the Citadel and usher in the next Reaper invasion. But this time the signal failed. The Keepers did not respond. Sovereign's allies were trapped in the void. Alone, it was forced to try and discover what had gone wrong.
This is interesting because it might mean that if Sovereign doesn't send a message in the next maybe 200,000 years, all of the Reapers outside of the galaxy are gonna be like, "My God, he's taking his time, isn't it? My God, we probably should go and check, you know? Just let's do that." And everybody shows up at the Citadel, being like, "Oi, what's going on? Why hasn't he told us anything?"
Sovereign's the largest ship in the galaxy. Why all this secret? Why not just attack the Citadel?
Sovereign is not invincible. Revealing its true nature would have united the forces of every organic species against it. Even a Reaper couldn't survive such odds. But the Reapers are patient. They will not rush into the unknown. Sovereign could have been planning this for centuries, moving deliberately, gathering allies. Slowly, it has assembled the pieces of the puzzle. working through agents to keep itself hidden. Saren is the most visible pawn of the Reapers, but I doubt he was the first. Now Sovereign has grown bold. Whether from confidence or desperation, I cannot say. But it is determined to reopen the portal to dark space.
What about the beacon on Eden Prime? And the one on Vermeer? What were they for?
At our apex, the beacons spanned the breadth of our empire. We used them as a single galaxy-wide network to transmit data and communications rapidly from world to world. Virtually all the beacons were destroyed during the invasion, but once the Reapers were gone, the survivors here on Ilos decided to risk sending out a message. We knew it was unlikely there were other survivors, but if there were, we wanted them to know about Ilos. We wanted to give them hope, so a message was sent across the network.
And Sovereign found you because of it.
You could have exposed yourself to the Reapers.
They
In
did.
truth, we didn't expect any of the beacons would still function, but we had to try.
You didn't have to try.
If there were survivors, we had to reach
You
them.
didn't have to reach them.
The message was meant for our own people. It was coded so only organic beings could interpret it. We still didn't understand the power of Reaper indoctrination. We never realized it could lead an agent of the machines, like Saren, to this world. But it has also led you here. So perhaps we did not fail after all.
No, No, you did. You're the result. Without this particular action, the game wouldn't have existed, and I would just be doing my thing. And Saren wouldn't be... I don't know how... I don't know what... Yeah. I mean, we need to kill Sovereign, basically. And if Sovereign dies because of all this, then yeah, I suppose it's not too bad.
So, when the Reapers created the Citadel, they created the Keepers as well?
A more likely scenario is that the Keepers were one of the early harvested civilizations, perhaps the very first. Perhaps they responded well to indoctrination, or the Reapers simply bred them to be obedient. In any case, they were left behind to operate and maintain the Citadel. But the Keepers are no longer directly controlled by Sovereign or its ilk. They evolved so that they only respond to the signals emitted by the Citadel itself. When the Protheans altered the Citadel's signals, they broke Sovereign's hold over the Keepers. Now, they are completely harmless.
Sovereign must have realized organic races were difficult to control.
A likely hypothesis. The Keepers evolved in an unanticipated direction. Non-organic servants like the Geth would be more predictable.
What happened to the survivors from the Conduit project?
They used the conduit to gain access to the Citadel, but the conduit is only a prototype. The portal only links in one direction, so they were trapped on the station. I do not know what became of them then. It is unlikely they found any food or water on the station. I fear they suffered a slow, grim death. I only know they succeeded in their mission to seal the relay. Your presence here proves their sacrifice was not in vain.
Saren's got enough of a head start. Grab that data file and let's go.
Shepard, are you sure? Who knows how much longer Vigil will be here? Even now the projection is weak. This might be our only chance to speak with it, our only link to the knowledge of the Protheans. It is the opportunity of a lifetime.
Didn't I talk already?
It might know something useful.
I will provide whatever information I can. My data banks, however, are limited to information directly related to stopping the Reaper invasion.
Yeah.
I've got the file. Come on.
The one you call Saren has not reached the conduit. Not yet. There is still hope if you hurry.
Is there? I think there is. We'll see. But for right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Mass Effect. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.